Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, that was much better. I'm Jada Breeden. I'm the Chamber Executive Director here in Guyman, and this is the very first Eggs and Issues session of 2016. And we have a great cast for you guys this morning. So we have Jeremy Bennett, and he's with Congressman Lucas's office, and he's their field rep. We have Brooks Wright, and he's the field rep for Senator James Langford. We have Representative Casey Murdoch, and Senator Marlette is on his way, and we will work him in whenever he gets here. He gets to go last, I'm guessing. So anyway, I'd really like to thank Apollo MedFlight, and Krista Hawkins with Apollo MedFlight is here to accept your applause and thank yous. They're our sponsor for today's session. So since we have quite a few people in the group this morning, we're gonna start with our state level, and then we're gonna work on up to our federal level. So I guess if you have any kind of questions, since there's a large group of people here, if it's something that you'd like to speak privately about and you want to wait, I'm sure that I know that Mr. Bennett needs to get on the road. He has an engagement, so it might need to be very brief with him, but they'll stick around for a few minutes before they have to start making their rounds. So if it's something that you feel like you need to speak privately with them about, you know, try to squeeze in a few minutes there, and we'll take questions. So raise your hands, and I will come around with the microphone because the roommate can't. So, you know, just be patient, and we'll get that going for you. If there's anything really pressing, other than saying thank you to Apollo MedFlight, we're going to go ahead and get started with Casey Murdoch, our representative for District 61, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see, I did good.
Well, thank you all for coming. I've got it's going to talk about the list of my bills, what I'm running, but these bills, you know, when I file bills, and I'll have people request a bill, and I'll run a bill for them, and they kind of turn into my kids, and I love that bill, and I'll fight and die for that bill. But as important as these bills are to me, you know, after this first week and the budget crisis that we're in this state, I mean, we're at $900 million right now, hole in the budget, probably looking at $1 billion to $1.3 billion hole in the budget. These bills, I'm more concerned with the budget. I mean, these are important. I do have, I will run through them, and I will take questions on them, but I think this session is going to be about the budget. For lack of a better term, we're in a train wreck, and we are, you know, just trying to save everything we've got. The house is on fire, and we're trying to save the house. There's some agencies they're gonna hurt. I'm not gonna blow smoke, and I was thinking about that on the way over here. I'm y'all's representative, and I believe in communication. I'm not going to come back here and blow smoke. I'm going to tell you what's going on, and I'm going to tell you my opinion on what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. It may not be what you guys want to hear, but I'm going to lay it out there. And I don't think there's anyone that loves the Panhandle more than I do. And I just want you to know that I'm going to fight as hard as I possibly can for the Panhandle, and I'm just going to come back and tell you how it is. It may not be good news, but I'm going to tell you how it is. And I'm telling you, it's not good down there. I think right now, I'll get to these bills later. I'm going to tell you kind of what I'm feeling down there. It's going to be a fight. I made a joke this week that we could probably sell tickets to the gallery because it's probably going to be an MMA fight on the floor. people trying to protect different agencies, people trying to protect what's happening in their district and funding going to their district, but it's looking like cuts clear across the board and not tiny ones. You know, the last I heard, well, in the governor's budget, if we don't do anything, if we just do a straight across the board, it could be 13% for each agency. Just straight across the board, a 13% cut. After last year's cut, there's some agencies not going to survive this. There has been talk about consolidation, and this is where the fights are going to happen on the floor. And I have made the commitment that I will stand on top of my desk and jump and holler if they try to consolidate our school superintendents. I think that is a horrible idea. And I do not think we save any money by consolidating our school superintendents into one superintendent per county. I'll use Cimarron County because it's easiest. It just has 3 schools. And this is why I think you don't save any money. So you're going to have one superintendent per county. So now he is superintendent over Felt and Keys and Boise City. His responsibilities has risen. So, you know, he's going to require more money. He's going to want more money for that job. You're still going to have an administrator on site. So you're going to have a principal there. And I haven't been in the government business that long, but I almost bet you that principal that's on site is going to make as much as the superintendent's making today. But he's going to want more money because his responsibilities has risen. And when you put all that together, I don't think we have enough savings to justify the hard feelings, the hurt that it's going to cause by consolidating superintendents. One thing that really scares me about doing that is you have this superintendent, more than likely he won't get out of that office, and he looks at numbers. And when this is the scary part, when we change our kids and the parents at these schools that's not right on site from a face to a number on a report, that's what scares me. You know, you look at the small schools out here. I had a meeting yesterday afternoon with Lee Denny, and we were talking education. I showed her some report cards, or I had her look it up. You know, she actually looked up the report cards on some schools out here, and she looked at Felt. She goes, they're an A+. Wow. Wow, I can't believe that. Because we're just little bitty schools out here. She can't believe a little bitty school. I said, you know, it's the passion. We have passion for our kids out here. You know, bigger is not better. And as far as consolidation, we are lean and trim in Western Oklahoma. We've consolidated all we need to consolidate, and I don't think we can consolidate any more, just logistically. These kids are going to be on the bus forever, and what they don't realize in downtown Oklahoma City, that these kids out here has chores to do. And I know I expect my kids to do their chores. I don't care how long they're on the bus. When they get home, they have chores to do. We've consolidated all we need to consolidate. And I can tell you, don't watch that day. If you watch what happens on the floor, don't watch that day, because your representative is going to throw a fit. And but that's how passionate I feel about that. It's going to be a fight. Like I said, we could sell tickets. It's going to be an MMA match on the floor this year, I believe.
I'll be able to close that gap in the budget if you did sell tickets.
That was my suggestion. That was my suggestion. I did try to help out the budget a couple of weeks ago. I did go buy a lottery ticket, but, you know, it didn't win it. No, I'm joking. But you know, that's going to be a big issue. Every tax incentive, tax break is on the table. That's including our ag tax, ag exemption tax. That scares me to death. And that would be devastating to the Panhandle, to Western Oklahoma, to every rural town in Oklahoma. Because if we lose the ag exemption tax, the farmers and ranchers, we're not that far from Texas, and Texas has it, and they're going to drive across the line and buy everything over there. You know, and your John Deere dealership is going to be hurt. We can't, I mean, but I am trying to get the governor and the Secretary of Agriculture to give me the nod to say that's off the table. I have not got that yet. I know Farm Bureau is pushing them. Farm Bureau peppered them with a press release the day after the State of the State, and they have not said it's off the table. Everything's on the table. They are attacking wind. We lost a wind project for Texas County last week. And the reason that the company decided to build it in Texas, the reason they decided to build it in Texas is because of the bills that was filed down there was anti-wind. They're looking at taking away the emission tax credit. They are, I mean, it's just hostile. There's a hostile environment to wind down there at that Capitol. And that's what I was doing in that representative's office. She has one of these bills. Do we have any, is Doug in here? The superintendent? No, he didn't make it. He's probably gonna get a phone call because I was sitting there, I set up this meeting with her, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, how do I sell my case? How do I sell my case to her? Because I already know she got visited by the wind lobbyist, and I know she got visited by the lobbyist that's anti-wind, and I got to thinking she needs to talk to our superintendents, the people that's on the ground here that can explain what this is doing for our education. And that's, she is big into education. This is what shocks me so much that she ran this bill. I mean, the first time I looked at those numbers, I'm like, this is great for our schools. And so I took my list. I have a list of all the superintendents and their phone number, their contact information. I went to her office and I said, you know, I'm going to plead my case. She goes, I heard you were wanting to talk to me. I said, yes, I do. And I said, you know, you've gotten the numbers from this lobbyist and you've gotten the other numbers from this lobbyist. And so you've got the numbers. And I explained the numbers pro side. I said, but talk to our superintendents. And I said, here's 3 schools that's got wind in their district. Here's 3 schools that has potential wind coming into their district. Talk to them. See how the superintendents are excited about the wind coming and what the wind, after it's been there, what it's done for their schools. She's going to call them. I didn't get her to lay it over, but she's thinking. She is thinking. I hope she does. I hope she does. We were able to kill 2 bills in the Senate, and I say kill them, we talked them into lay them over, but there's several. There's several bills that still. I also met with the AB chair yesterday because Wind had a deal with them last year, made a deal that they would agree to and not fight the ad valorem exemption. So this year, December 31st, January 1st, however you want to say it, the ad valorem exemption is gone. Wind companies will not be exempt from ad valorem taxes after 2017, or at the beginning of 2017. Their other tax incentive, the gross production, not the gross production, I think it's the emission, ends in 20. So wind is fixing to stand on their own. And that's one of the things. Well, you know, they're propped up. They're propped up. Wind's standing on its own. And yeah, you just see what it's doing for us. I did a town hall meeting in Shattuck. There was a guy from OG&E there, and I was talking wind, and had a question on, you know, what is this going to do? And this OG&E guy made the comment before I even had a chance, and he said, you know, the schools in the Panhandle are fixing to be Taj Mahals because of what wind is going to bring to them. We're not going to get a Toyota plant here in the Panhandle. We're not going to get, you know, Microsoft, Amazon is not going to come out here and build anything. But we do have wind. I can testify to that. We have wind pretty regular. That's about the only thing you can count on here is the wind. So But yeah, that's going to be a big fight. And I think I had said a long time ago, it may not be what I get for the Panhandle, it may be more what I protect for the Panhandle. So with that being said, I know we're kind of short on time. I'm going to run through the bills, kind of explain what I'm wanting to do with these bills, and then I will open it up for questions if Jada agrees to that.
What do I agree to?
Questions. Or do you want to do it afterwards, let them talk, or let them give me questions now?
Why don't we do it afterwards?
Okay.
It'll be easier for me to do the
Okay.
microphone.
All right. So I'm running a bill. It's an overweight truck bill. And what it does, and this is going to be a fight too in a bad budget year, but it allows ag trucks to buy an overweight permit. It will give them an extra 10,000 pounds permit. They can buy it by the county or they can buy the whole state. Well, the intent on this is you know, when I load cattle out in the country, there's not scales there, and I could miss a chicken by 3 pounds. And I tell them, you know, I've got this many head and they weigh about this. And we get there and they say, I think I'm loaded. Well, I still have 2 left in the pen. And I'm like, we're not leaving, get those 2 on the truck. Well, he's overloaded and we don't really have, we can get close, but when he pulls out, he can get ticketed. Well, I want to give a buffer zone there and let him buy a permit. You know, we're not trying intentionally breaking the law, but let's give us a buffer. And the same way with loading corn trucks. Mr. Fisher probably can agree. He probably can get a truck pretty close in filling it with his grain cart and getting right at 50,000 pounds. But that's just in case. Let's give them a little ease off of the worry of pulling out there and, oh well, you're over. And so that's what this bill does. It'll allow them to buy a permit. Just in case they go over. And what I also tagged onto this bill is exempting feed trucks and water trucks from having to have a DOT sticker on it within 20 miles of a feeding operation. So let's say, you know, or your home operation. Let's say you have cows down the road and you hook on to, or you take off with a water truck to water them. They're not, you can have the feed truck or the water truck that never leaves the place generally, but you know, if you decide to feed something down the road, you can run down there and feed them. And so that's tagged into that bill. The next bill is school lands. So I'm sure everybody in here realizes what Cimarron County has to deal with 236,000 acres of school land, 20% of the county. I'm sure everybody here realizes what that does to that county as far as their tax base. And so what this bill does, it says if a county has 10% or more of its area in school land, that the Commission of the School Land Office will pay the ad valorem tax, will reimburse that county for the ad valorem tax. Harry Birdwell at the CLO is supportive of this bill. He does not have a problem with this bill. So we'll just see how good a salesman I am to everyone on the floor. I know I'm going to have some opposition when I did the interim study. I did have a representative that kind of was not happy with it. So it will be a fight, but everything is down there. I'm also going to run a bill on school finance. Goodwill is looking at this. You know, they've got that wind farm that was just built in Goodwill. One thing that happens whenever a wind farm is built at a new site and a new school district is, Goodwill, well, they are on the formula. They're on the school formula. So what's happened in Goodwill is this wind farm has moved in there and built this wind farm. Well, you know, it's a windfall. You know, no pun intended, but they're going off the formula. They're fixing to have the money. Well, what happens in the meantime, when those windmills are assessed and put on the tax roll, there is about a 6-month to 18-month window that that school has before they start getting reimbursed from the state on the ad valorem tax. So there's 6 to 18 months that the school has no funding coming in whatsoever. And this bill will adjust the timing on that payment. What I'm looking at doing is they will continue to be on state funding until that check hits. So there's not a window in there that school is hurting. Since the boss got here, I'll hurry up. I am pushing my the opioid bill that I ran last year. It got hung up in the Senate. I'm running it again, doing just a little more different strategy on trying to get this opioid, but I don't know if you remember, it is tamper-proof opioids. And if you have someone that in your family, or if you are, I'm not saying anybody in here has problems with opiates, but if the doctor is worried that you could abuse this pill, or if someone in your family could abuse this pill or this drug, he can prescribe this tamper-proof pill that you can't smash it up and break it up, and it basically it just makes it into just kind of a jelly. You can't get anything out of it. I mean, you can only use it for the purposes it was prescribed to you. So I'm running this one again, a little different strategy. I'm also running a insurance bill. So right now in Oklahoma, 1 out of every 5 motorists is not insured. And so what this bill does will allow cameras to be put up, just like on the turnpike. It'll take a picture of your license plate. If you don't have insurance, you'll get a ticket in the mail. And I think, you know, it will be a revenue generator. They did a test model in Roger Mills County, and for 1 month it would have generated $400 and some thousand. On the back side of that, I know everyone here pays that uninsured motorist on your insurance. I think that should, with this being in Oklahoma, that should relieve some pressure on that uninsured motorist insurance that we pay on our insurance to cover uninsured motorists. So I think it will also help the state in revenue. It also help us on our insurance premiums. I am pushing my cattle rustling bill again. I don't have much hope for it, but we've got to push rural issues. And even though this bill, like I said, I do not have much hope. After listening to the governor's speech, I do not think I can sell the people down there to give them more time in prison. Right now, the atmosphere in Oklahoma City, we do not want to give them any more time. Now, I can't say I agree with that, but that's the atmosphere down there. But the reason I want to keep pushing this is it's a rural issue, and whether we win or not, if I'm up there talking about rural issues, we are pushing our agenda. Win or lose, we're in the conversation, and that conversation is being had. So that's why I'm going to kind of push my cattle rustling bill and I think maybe next year when we have a regime change, I think maybe we'll have a little more hope on getting something like that done. I do have a drone bill. It is not a crazy black helicopter bill. I think it's a good bill. What it does is FAA already has rules on how you fly drones and what is allowed. And in their rules, you cannot fly a drone over someone else's property without permission. You cannot fly drones in certain areas. They have their rules. What my bill does is it puts teeth into a bill that if you fly a drone over a cell barn, if you fly a drone over a feed yard, if you fly a drone over my house while I'm working calves, it's totally to protect us from HSUS and PETA. The sheriff, the DPS, the local police force can go out there and write you a ticket. It's a $500 fine and or a year in county jail. You know, I really don't want PETA and or HSUS flying a drone over while I'm working calves and looping that video on the internet over and over and over. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm sick and tired of seeing that Holstein cow fall down. They will take a snapshot and then they build their story around the snapshot, and it's taken so far out of context, so you have no idea what's going on there. But you know, picture's worth 1,000 words, and it's even worse whenever they're putting the words in your mouth on what that picture is actually saying. So this bill, I hope, will protect agriculture and agriculture practices from attacks from PETA or HSUS. The last one is, I can call it my Teacher Protection Act. What it does is it gives teachers the ability to protect themselves if they're attacked by a student. And then it also puts teeth and punishment into a student that attacks a teacher. And when this bill passes, because it's going to pass, when this bill passes, if a teacher is attacked, they can protect themselves and restrain the kid without being worried of being sued, being fired, any actions taken against them. They will have the right to protect themselves and the other students in the classroom. That pretty much sums it up. So also I want to thank Bryce. He did co-author or Senate author my CLO bill, so he's going to help push that through. Thank you. Pass it down.
All right, well, great to be here. Looking forward to what may be the most interesting session I'm going to have experienced. We've gone through this. Obviously, the elephant in the room is the budget. We've gone through this before, and I got elected in 08, and so started in 09. And when I got elected, revenues were shooting through the roof in 08. We had record oil and gas production, and about 2 months before the election, oil and gas started crashing, and I thought, what in the world have I gotten myself into? This is going to be rough. And then 09 was even more difficult. We had about $630 million shortfall at that point, and it was we were in for a pretty difficult year. It was a difficult year. Right now we're looking at like 910 is what they're estimating on the shortfall. I think it's going to be more than that when we get our certification numbers coming in. But the difference in this shortfall and the previous shortfalls is on the last one we had the feds and the stimulus dollars that were coming in and helped kind of soften the landing on what we could do as far as the budget goes. We could use a lot of those federal dollars for one-time dollars, and that allowed us to kind of soften that blow. And the next year we started that recovery process. We're not going to have that this year. We've got a lot of fundamental problems on how our budget works. We've actually got last year had more total revenue come into the state than we'd ever had, but the amount of dollars that we had to appropriate were less. That's a lot of people don't get. You've got total revenue that comes into the state, and you've got dollars that can be appropriated. The revenue that comes into the state is gross production tax, sales tax, you know, all kinds of stuff, federal dollars, all these different things that come into the state. Well, over the years, primarily whenever term limits started, people had their projects they were working on, they had different things they were doing, and they thought, we got to find a way to make sure that our legacy continues. So what they started doing is apportionment off the top money and designating money that came in, certain percentages of a certain tax, certain percentages of XYZ, and they're designating that money to go to a certain spot or a certain place. Education, 1017 fund, transportation, all different areas, higher ed, and so what's happened is how they structured those apportionments is they say 5% of the motor vehicle tax goes to the county road and bridge fund. But they don't just stop right there. They say 5% or whatever last year's apportionment was, whichever is the greatest. So their baby, where we're apportioning those dollars, if we have a down budget year, that group never feels the pain with everybody else, because it could go down, that apportionment, and should be half of what they got the previous year, but by statute it says or last year's apportionment, whichever is the greatest. So there's never a decrease. So now we've got to a point where we actually appropriate. We have discretionary dollars of 45 cents on every dollar that comes into the state of Oklahoma is what we get to appropriate, because it's all designated. And so when you have the kind of downfall that we've had, and these apportionments are right here, our revenue was right here, we have a downfall in revenue, our apportionments don't change. So it really has an impact on the discretionary funds, the money that we get to appropriate. So needless to say, it's going to be very difficult. There's going to be a lot of decisions that have to be made in regards to how we handle the budget this year and moving forward, and B, what we're going to do about it. I serve as caucus chairman, and the Senate have done that for the last 6 years. I was talking to our caucus this week, and we started meeting actually in December on budget, and talking, wanting to let everybody know that hey, this is a serious deal. We're in a crisis, and we need to take it serious, and we need to come in and be trying to navigate our way through this as responsibly as possible. The good thing about it is, like I said, never let a good crisis go to waste, right? We've got opportunity to make some reforms, to put ourselves in a better situation moving forward, to where we don't tie our hands so drastically in difficult years, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. The only problem is we've got the House to deal with, but
no, did you guys hear me say anything about this? I wanted to, but I kept my mouth shut.
I can't say too much. He's a lot bigger than I am. The problem is you've got you're on election year, and difficult decisions that need to be made are not always the most popular. Everybody says cut spending, do what you have to do, let's be tough, let's get this thing done right. As long as you don't impact my life, as long as you do it with everybody else, just go get it, get after it. And then you couple that with it's an election year, and those difficult decisions aren't popular, and which is a lot of what our problem is in this country is people make decisions based off of getting reelected as opposed to making decisions that are better for the country. I'm in business. We make decisions on You know, we look at 3-year projections and make decisions based off of how it's going to impact us over the next couple of years. That's not always the best political move, and the best political move is to say, we're going to take care of you, we're going to, you know, you're not going to feel the pain, we're going to make somebody else feel the pain, and just remember to vote for me when you get in that booth next week, because I want to stay where I'm at. And people make decisions, not in the state, not Casey or myself, but people make decisions based off of getting reelected as opposed to what's best for the country or for the state long term, and that's not always the best thing. So that's another challenge we're facing. I'm just throwing it out there that there's politics involved in all this as well, and which makes it very difficult. I'll just stay on the budget for real quick, because I don't want to take up all the time here. You guys need to update us as well, but the budget is going to be, there's going to be another political side to this thing, and that is going to be rural urban. We've got a tremendous amount of production tax credits that are out there, sales tax exemptions. We've got historical tax credits. All these different things. We've got tax credits, tax credits for movies, film projects. We've got all kinds of tax credits out there. We put a tax credit review board together last year. Said let's look at what we're doing here. All right, some of these tax credits are very old. Some of these tax credits we've proven there was some tax credits that there were a couple of banks. Very few Oklahomans were using these tax credits. They had a pass-through deal. It wasn't creating one job. It was a way for some guys to make a lot of money. You know, there's different things out there that are going on. I'm for tax credits. I'm for being able to help spur a industry. But we need to make sure we're getting a return on investment if we're doing it. We're not doing it just for fun. We're not doing it to make a brother-in-law some money or anything like that. Let's make sure that what we're doing, we're getting a return on investment, and we're getting our bang for our buck. Are we creating jobs? Is this stimulating growth? And is this good long-term investment? We've got that review board in place. What's happening now is they're saying, all right, let's go look at all the tax credits. And they're starting to pull all these things out there. They pulled one out the other day, one that I'd worked on for a couple of years, passed it. It was a rural housing tax credit. Obviously rural housing is a huge issue. Construction, I think, does a tremendous job in creating jobs, increasing sales tax, local sales taxes, you know, all kinds of different things. We've got the numbers to back it up. I'm confident that if they will allow it to the review board, that the review board will say this tax credit is effective. It's doing its job, and it will stimulate the economy. And because the way I structured this one was, all right, you can receive this tax credit, but we're going to be checking you, and in next year we're going to make sure you can't use the tax credit until your housing project is completely finished and occupied. We're not just building something so that you can receive tax credits on it. Finished and occupied, and guess what? If you don't maintain that property and to the standards that we agreed to at year 5, then we can come back and say, look, you didn't do what you said. We want all that money back. I think that's a responsible way to handle these things, and that's the way we structured that. So there's certain ones out there. What I'm saying is that are effective and written responsibly, but they're putting them all out there. And what we're fixing to face is a rural-urban fight on where our dollars are going. I just found out yesterday that there's a bill coming up in finance that puts a complete cap on our maintenance fund for our county roads. Now I'm not talking about the CIRB fund that we put in place to address our county roads and bridges. I'm talking about the maintenance fund. Well, if we cap the maintenance fund on county roads and bridges, how much does that impact Oklahoma and Tulsa County? Very little, because most of those are in municipality. Most of those are, and so it has a huge impact on rural Oklahoma. Well, why are we so far behind on transportation infrastructure in the state of Oklahoma? Because for 22 years we capped our maintenance fund on state highways and bridges, and that's why we got in the position we're at. So we're gonna say, all right, we screwed it up on state highways, but you know, we're panicking, so let's cap what we're spending on maintenance for county roads. And guess what? In the next 10 years, we're going to be going, we need an apportionment to guarantee that we can go and address a problem that's far worse than it ever should have been. So there's going to be all kinds of turf battles like this moving forward. REAP is going to be another one. We've fought like crazy to save REAP the last couple of years. Can I cover this up? I had to hold my nose and make a few other votes to save REAP, which is a $12 million investment in rural Oklahoma that has a huge impact on our rural communities. In order to do that, but it was I thought that it was very important, because once something like that goes away, we're never getting it back. And so we're gonna have to fight tooth and nail to keep some of these things intact. Are we gonna have to give a little ground somewhere? Yeah, we are, but everybody is. When you look at the budget, you look at $1 billion shortfall basically, and 54% of the budget, 52, 54, depending on who you're talking to, goes to education. So if you say, all right, I know we're in a bind, education can't take a cut. Okay, that's fine. So we're 10% off. So now we got 20% we need to cut to everybody else because we don't want to mess with education, right? All right, so okay, you can do that, but you know what? Don't mess with healthcare. Okay, all right, we won't mess with healthcare. All right, now we're 25% to everybody else. Well, corrections is in a big bind too. Don't mess with them. All right, now so start telling me, well, there's 12 agencies who receive 92% of the funding in the entire state. If you leave those 12 agencies alone and completely eliminate the other 8%, you still don't fill the budget gap. So you can see where we're getting at is if there's not a shared loss or a shared perspective by everybody that, hey, this isn't going to be fun, let's suck it up and let's take part in it. Are there areas, but I still don't think that across the board, even to everybody, is the way to go. I think that's the easy way out. I think this is the time we go in and evaluate, are we serving the core, are we doing the core services of government and doing what government is intended to do. Education is, I've got 4 kids. I got 3 of them are in public ed. One of them's not. I tell everybody I've got 3 awesome, really beautiful, fantastic kids, and I've got another one. But I just don't tell them which one. But we've got on education dollars. I started doing some research, and I'm like, all right, I'm getting killed on education as far as, they're talking about how much they've been cut, and what's happened the last couple of years, and I disagree with a lot of the oversight that we have. I think that we should leave more control up to the local board, and I think we should take a lot of the dollars that they get and stop saying this has to be used on your building fund, this has to be used on your books, this has to be used here. Here's the money. Go manage it the way you see fit, and if you're not doing it right, then it's your job to make sure your school board's holding your superintendent accountable. And I think that freeing the local school board, local superintendent up, and untying their hands and letting them manage the money as they see fit. If we can't do it now, it's not going to happen. And we need to allow the local school districts to be able to make the moves that they need to make to get through this, because it's highly likely there's going to be a cut to education in some capacity. I don't see how we get out of this without drastic changes in revenue, without everybody having to share in this a little bit. I'm just really, this is fantastic, right? Everybody's like, can you say something good? So that's where we're at. But anyway, what I was saying is I went to the State Department and said I want to see the cuts that education's gotten over the past 5 years, the overall budget over the past 5 years, not state. I want to see federal, local, state dollars, any money that comes into you guys and goes back out to the school districts. And that number has gone up drastically every year. When you look at the federal dollars, yes, there's been some years where the state went down, particularly whenever federal dollars go way up. Because it was on off-budget years for us, but that number has increased, and I don't have them in front of me, but it's increased close to $1 billion over 5 years that goes out. There's a bill out there right now. Education it kind of turns into a rural-urban deal again. Well, this one actually, we had an urban guy stand up and say, hey, this isn't a rural issue, this is an urban issue on merging school districts. And they said, what's the best way to merge school districts? Maybe we should look at lowering, we've got 515 school districts in the state, which I think, we could cut that down. And my response was, I've got the perfect plan. Go to Western Oklahoma and model it after what we've already voluntarily done. Because we have voluntarily went out and said, look, this is what's going to be best for our students. It's painful, not the most popular. I graduated from a consolidated school district, Sharon Mutual. It was consolidated in 1969. There's still some people who think if you're from Sharon or you're from Mutual, you're the devil, but it's taken a while, but that has grown. It was a great school, great time in my life, and then you go to the eastern side of the state, and you've got classes with 8 kids in a class, and 8 miles down the road you've got another school district with another 8 kids. Well, if we've got a teacher shortage, that's 8 miles. Technology, transportation, we could do that in one classroom, have one teacher for 16 kids. You're still under your allotment, and you can do that quite well. And we've done that. I just had a school district in my Senate district that merged with Fargo. Gage merged with Fargo in the middle of the year. So state didn't come in and tell them they had to do it. They did it because of financial reasons and because that's what was best. And guess what? They worked through it, and I think it'll be successful. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that it had to happen, but they did. Teacher pay raise. I don't know if you got. I proposed a deal in this summer on teacher pay raise. I've heard for years we need to give teachers pay raise. They need more money. I've been of the position. There's nothing that says they have to be paid the minimum. School districts can pay them more, but I tend to agree with everybody that we do need to pay teachers more money. I think it's a crisis. I think we've got we're not competing with other states, and my comments were when we're in business, if we've got somebody that's kicking our butt, we go and try to get their salesmen, and guess how we get them? We prove that we've got a better work environment, and we pay them a competitive wage. And Republicans always say we need to run this state like a business. Well, first off, I don't think a government can really be ran like a business. It's a great sales pitch, but there's certain things, the state's not there to make a profit. So there's certain things you got to look at a little differently. However, whenever it comes to being competitive with your surrounding states and being competitive with the people around you, particularly here, a 36-mile wide part of the Panhandle, that's very important. So I threw something out there that was highly controversial, got a lot of people very angry with me, but I don't care. I just said, look, I'm tired of everybody saying we need a teacher pay raise, and then saying, but we can't afford it. So we've got a constitutional fund set in place, TSET dollars. I don't want to completely deplete it, but there's I can't remember exactly how much money's in there now. It's well over $1 billion. And the interest last year off of that, what the TSET is, it's a settlement that we had, the tobacco settlement the state had. We receive all these tobacco funds come into the state, and then that's supposed to be used, the interest off of that money is supposed to be used for cessation of tobacco products. Well, I get to looking at it, and we're doing rowing programs, grants to schools for rowing programs. Okay, well, last time I checked, we don't have a lot of places to row in western Oklahoma. I don't know how the Beaver River's doing right now, but that's something that was written specifically for the Oklahoma River to get more activity down by the Oklahoma River. They can tell me all the crap they want, but that's what that was for. I start looking at their programs and saying, all right, let me see where your grants are, and make them bring me a map and showing all the grants. And it's funny, it took them about 3 weeks to get it to me. And when they got it to me, I just had a school district in my district that received a grant all of a sudden. And it was the only one that I'd gotten in like 3 years. All the rest were, downstate. And I'm sitting here going, you seriously think that, okay, thanks for the grant for Alva School District, but that's not working, Show me that you're really doing something to stop cessation. They're advertising at the Thunder games, probably one of your most expensive venues. I mean, I think that there's a lot of abuse in how it's going. Is it a good program? Yes, I think it is. But it should be going to research for cancer. It should be going to healthcare projects. Let's use the money for rural physicians. Get more rural physicians, or get more nurse practitioners to rural areas. We don't need a rowing program in high schools. We've got enough activity. Get the kids off their butt and go figure out something else to do. Besides, we don't have to spend money on rowing. So I said, all right, here's what we'll do. We'll use the interest off of that, and we'll even dip into the principal amount, and that's how we're going to start it. We're going to use it for a 3-year window, and that'll give the legislature 3 years to prepare to start taking it up themselves. And people don't like it, but my goal was, and I had, whenever I got interviewed over it over and over again, I said, look, I'm not saying this is the best idea, but everybody talks about how they want it done, and I'm just saying, I want it done too, and I'm showing you where the money is. If you're willing to do it, there's the money, and if you're not, you got a better idea, I'm happy to hear that. And now everybody in the world's got an idea, so that's a good thing. Unless it's a 1-cent sales tax. I don't think that the 1-cent sales tax is the answer. I think what I think is a local community. I've got staff researching this right now on what can be done. I think a local community ought to be able to do that and designate those funds for their teachers if they see fit. I think it shows local investment. It allows the local communities to say, look, we've got great teachers all around here. We've got great teachers in our school district, and there's some great ones all around. We're going to compete with not just other states, we're going to compete with our local other school districts, and we're going to get the best here. I think it would catch on like wildfire, and you wouldn't need a statewide myself, but the problem I have with the 1 cent is I think it really limits school districts, local municipalities to be able to bond when we've already got the one of the highest sales tax rates in the state of Oklahoma. And at the same time, you've got the governor in our state talking about one of the ways to fix the budget gap that we have this year is to do away with certain sales tax exemptions, and to put sales taxes on certain services. And but I don't know. I was assured that that's not on the ag exemption.
They hadn't said.
Okay.
I've been asking.
It's supposed to be a $200 million impact on that, but I was told that the sales tax exemption was not going to be included in that.
Good. Spewed about that I hadn't gotten the nod.
Right.
I haven't said anything. Governor hadn't said anything.
Right.
Unless you just heard.
That wasn't coming from the governor, but it was coming from one of her advisors that was not included. So that's another thing. We're going to have to fight to keep sales tax exemption in place on ag sales. You got my spiel on teachers, on teacher pay raise. I think it's a serious issue. I think it's something that needs to be addressed. A lot of people will disagree with me. I'm sorry. I think we have to compete. One of the revenue gimmicks that was thrown out there is a cigarette tax, $1.50 per pack. Supposed to help with reducing smoking, and also going to raise. I can't remember how much money that's supposed to raise. Hey, one thing I wanted to say on the 1 cent sales tax, and it's something that I just asked staff. Staff gets tired of me calling them, by the way, because when you drive back and forth as much as I do, you got a lot of time to think and just come up with stuff to figure out. But when you're talking about a 1 cent sales tax on this deal, it's supposed to be $600 million for schools. Well, a large portion of that goes to higher ed, who has the ability to raise tuition, and a lot of not every regional university has, but they have tuition, they have fees, all these things. Higher ed is sitting on a tremendous amount of money that we can't do because constitutionally that money goes to the regents, and the regents then distribute it out to the colleges. So, but this is supposed to be a $611 million impact on schools, this 1 cent sales tax is. But what nobody has talked about is that we have a sales tax has dropped, according to the tax commission, the sales tax has dropped monumentally. And so with that sales tax drop, nobody has said, okay, well, how much is that 1 cent sales tax going to raise now? Because we've had estimates before on liquor by the drink and what that was going to do. We've had estimates before on the lottery and what that was going to do. Now we've got the estimates of $611 million and what this is going to do. And I can guarantee you it's not going to be $611 million. Not whenever things are going like they are now. And so I think I think we need to know the real number if we're going to go vote on it. So that just to be informed. So I'm trying to get that hammered out as well. You guys know I've worked on the water issues in the past, restructured the water board, made sure that Panhandle has somebody representing it. Well, you know, water's an issue. The aquifer is being depleted. We've had record numbers of record gallons of water in the eastern part of the state this last year. I've met with Oklahoma City's mayor, city managers, some of their council members over the years, and said let's think holistically. Let's come up with a long-term approach. Let's move water from they don't want to sell water. They'll fight you like hell to sell the water that is leaving the state anyway. They don't want to sell it. So I said, let's figure out a way to move it. You're already moving it to Oklahoma City. Let's move it to western Oklahoma. Let's recharge the aquifer out here. We solve our problems out here. You never have to worry about a thing again, Oklahoma City, because once our problems are solved, yours is solved. And we let out 65 million acre feet of water last year, left the state for absolutely nothing. You look at the value of water, ag value of water is like $45 And so you look at that. We let like 65, or we let what was it? I'm wanting to say like 40 billion or $7 billion worth of water out of the state last year that could have been sold to Dallas or could have been brought out here. And we've got to. That's something that we're going to work on that this year. We're not going to get anything done this year probably, but we've got to start having the conversation and making people aware of what kind of a natural, what we're losing that we never get back.
And this is Brooks Wright, and Brooks came out to speak to us today on behalf of Senator Lankford.
Yeah, and I'll keep it quick, Jada, but I want to say first off, thank you so much to Jada, who helped set up our town hall deal this past summer, and everybody who came out to that. I thought that was a great turnout. I think he was really pleased with it and had a great time out in Northwest Oklahoma. So thank you so much for everyone who came and brought the great questions. I want to give a quick reminder on what his committee appointments are. Senator Lankford serves on the Intelligence, Appropriations, Indian Affairs, and Homeland Security and Government Affairs committees. And on Homeland Security and Government Affairs, he's the subcommittee chairman of Regulatory Affairs and Federal Management. That's kind of his niche that he's found. I'll touch a little bit later on his federal waste book that he authored this past year. But some of our key legislative victories that the Senate passed, we did an education, elementary and secondary education reauth. It was the first one since 2001 where this Congress passed No Child Left Behind. This was called the Every Child Achieves Act, and this repealed a lot of the nasty provisions that No Child Left Behind had in it. So I think a lot of people in the state of Oklahoma were pleased with that. State of Oklahoma doesn't have to keep going back for the federal government and begging for flexibility waivers, and gives more local control. So I think that was a huge success for our state. Also going to touch on the big noisy bill at the end of the year, the omnibus, the budget deal. I think it shows how a good compromise deals when people on the far left and the far right are both upset with it. I think that shows that there's a real compromise. But there were some really good provisions. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. There's some really key victories that the GOP fought for that will directly benefit our state. We lifted the 40-year ban on oil exports, and I don't know if you guys saw, but Senator Obama authored his last budget plan to give to the Congress, and he proposed a $10 tax on every barrel of oil produced in the United States. So we got a guy that thinks taxing $10 for every barrel of oil in the country, he thinks that's a good idea, and we got him to lift the ban on the that's been in place for 40 years on banning oil exports. So I can't stress enough on how huge of a victory that was for this Congress. George W. Bush could have lifted that ban without a motion of Congress. George Herbert Walker Bush could have lifted that ban. They didn't choose to do it. So to get a guy like President Obama to sign off on that is a huge victory and will be a huge thing for our state in the years to come. Also made permanent the Section 179 small business tax reductions. I think a lot of farmers and ag producers in the state really benefit from that. And that made that permanent. Also supported our military and veterans. So if you're a pro-military and pro-defense, and then you didn't vote for this budget deal, you need to kind of reevaluate their priorities. This was a huge thing for our military to support them. So that's where we didn't really, Senator Lankford didn't agree with how the budget was negotiated. He thinks going forward it needs to come organically from the committees and not be a process where a few powerful members of Congress get behind closed doors and negotiate it. But we're optimistic about Speaker Ryan and Senate Leader McConnell on negotiating these things going forward. So, but again, this was there were a lot of great things in this bill that directly benefit the state of Oklahoma. Like I said before, we released Senator Coburn started this tradition of releasing what he calls a waste book, and we did our version of that. We called it Federal Fumbles. There's kind of a little thing with football in there. He thought that was cute, so we decided to do that. I brought a couple of highlights on there that I thought you'd think is funny. not really that funny because we're wasting a lot of money on it, but the federal government spent $375,000 to study the dating habits of our senior citizens. Thought that was pretty interesting. The Department of Defense spent $284,000 to monitor the nesting habits of the California gnatcher because it was deemed threatened. I think the Department of Defense has a lot better things to do than study the nesting habits of a deemed endangered bird. And then, of course, we've wasted $5 billion of taxpayer money on fraudulent income tax returns. And I think also we spent $50,000 on a silent Shakespeare play that was going on in the state of Virginia, and we got a lot of pushback from the performing arts community about that, but we didn't really care. We thought that was pretty funny. So, what's going on this past week? We've been debating the Senate's been debating the Energy Policy Modernization Act, and that kind of hit a snag in this last coming days because our colleagues from the Democrat side proposed an amendment to unlock federal emergency relief funds to Flint, Michigan to help with their water crisis, and almost every Senate Republican except for one just said that was a bad idea. We think it shouldn't be taxpayer money from the state of Oklahoma and everywhere else in the country shouldn't be going to fix Michigan's water issue, so they need to be taking care of that themselves. Unfortunately, that means that the Energy Policy Modernization Act is going to be put on hold for right now. Going forward, I think we're going to hear a lot of noise about opioid issues like Casey talked about on the national level. There's been a lot of push for some of the northeastern states to address that issue at a federal level, so we'll see if any legislation comes up about that. And then also keep in mind it's an election year. I don't know if you've noticed, but we're going to be electing a new president, and that tends to suck a lot of the oxygen out of the room for any legislation at the national level, especially when you have so many of our Senate colleagues running for president. That tends to put a lot of work we want to do on hold. But just keep in mind also Senator Langford will also be on the ballot this year since he's finished his 2-year special term to fill Senator Coburn's last 2 years. So thank you so much for having me, and I'd love to answer any questions after we're done. So.
Okay, so now we turn it over to Jeremy Bennett, who is Congressman Lucas's field representative. And
well, thank you, Jada, and good morning to everyone, and Happy New Year's to you guys from our office and from myself personally. It's good to be back up here, and I'll keep the remarks real quick too, because I know you guys got to get out of here. I know, Bryce, you had just said, let's give some positive news, and that's what Brooks and I at some of these legislative events, it's important to remind folks what happened in 2015 and then what we've set ourselves up now for in 2016. And yeah, it was a frustrating year in 2015. I think a lot of folks would say it was kind of a do-nothing Congress, but there was actually some really good things. Brooks just kind of touched on some of those that ended up passing and ultimately being signed by the president in 2015. I can't reiterate on the lifting of the ban on exporting oil, of how vital that is to Oklahoma when we're seeing our state in the crisis that it is in right now. It's projected, they did a study, an Oklahoma company, research company looked at, and they predict that 11,000 jobs will be created here in Oklahoma by 2018 as a result of this policy. So that is huge. That is beneficial for us, especially in western and northwest Oklahoma. Brooks touched a little bit on the education. That is something that is very impressive that actually we were able to get the president to sign, because there is the exact language of that bill in there. It says that the Secretary of Education shall not coerce a state, blah, 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 into adopting Common Core curriculum. So that is a great victory in that bill, and it also, of course, pushes back a lot of the decisions back to the states, back to the local boards to decide. So I'm hearing a lot of great reviews right now from superintendents out in the district that are really liking that. Highway and transit bill. And you definitely have to thank Senator Inhofe on this one for leading the charge. After going 10 years now with these short-term bills, and we understand if you have to only plan out for a year or 2 years, that's really hard for a state to have to do that, for counties to have to do that, for cities to have to do that. And so this is actually a long-term bill that will really improve our nation's highways and bridges and things like that. And there's a lot of money that will come to Oklahoma because of this bill. Surveillance. You guys remember last year when the NSA was collecting bulk phone records? That was a victory for us of stopping that. They have to go now through the court system. If they want to get records, just like anything else, you've got to go get a warrant for that. So that was a huge victory. A defense. Remember, Congress approved a sweeping defense reauthorization act that actually increases our pay to our troops. It provides them with the equipment that they need. And it also, which this is somewhat interesting and still being fought out, is it prohibits transfers of Guantanamo Bay to the U.S. and it makes the president provide Congress a 30-day notice before a detainee is taken out of it. And that's kind of what's in question because the president still will release one. I guess they just released 2 to an African country. So we're still trying to get some word on what's going on with that. The Doc Fix bill. That was a huge victory for how we repay or pay the Medicare reimbursements for doctors. And so that was a good victory. Export-Import Bank. I believe that I talked to you guys before about Export-Import Bank. That is our nation's banking institution that helps American companies take their products overseas, and it puts them on an even playing field because there's some like 70 other countries that have very similar institutions. We've had it for over 80 years, and this past June it actually expired. It got into political turmoil, it expired. So the congressman actually led an effort, a maneuver through Congress to get it back, and it was ultimately signed here in December, part of the omnibus bill too, to get it in there. Because there are 13 companies here in the 3rd District that is supported by the Export-Import Bank. One of the companies, probably the more well-known, would be Ditch Witch out of Perry. It takes their products and helps them on an even playing field internationally. So that was a big victory. I know the congressman just signed on to here for 2016 to a bill, Save Rural Hospital Act. There's 55 rural hospitals that have closed throughout the country. There's 283 that are on the brink of closure right now. And so the congressman has signed on to this act. We're hopeful that it will move through fairly quickly. It will stop the impeding flood of rural hospital closures and provide the needed access for care for rural America. So we're excited to kind of see that one. I know that the House, they're now on recess. The congressman has been doing town hall meetings. We've started some in western Oklahoma, and I'll make sure to let you guys know when we come back up here. But when they go back, they've got 3 bills, it looks like, on the table. The Scientific Research in the National Interest Act, that looks at the National Science Foundation. Their Congressman Lucas in the Science Committee has found out that they are using dollars in there not to really look at scientific studies. They're looking at things that the administration is pushing forward. And so we're going to hopefully get this act passed. The Debt Management Act, and there's a Common Sense Nutrition Disclosure Act. If you remember, we've talked a lot about Michelle's Obama crusade on school nutrition programs. This will have some of it in there, but also food labeling menus. If they go through with what they're wanting, it will seriously cripple grocery stores, restaurants, meat packing companies, everything like that. So this bill's aimed at providing some much needed relief in those sectors. I think that's kind of, I'll stop there. So yeah, maybe take a few questions. But yeah, thank you for allowing me the opportunity, and I get to go speak to a government class down at the college. So excited about that.
Thank you. Okay, so remember the drill. You raise your hand and I come get you. Okay. There's no running in jail.
It's really not a question, it's a point of clarification. Casey touched on the wind power project that left Texas County. I was in the city 2 weeks ago at a meeting, and one of the wind power's main lobbyists came up and said, "Mayor, do you understand that this company just moved out of Texas County, out of the Guyman School District? This is the dollar effect on ad valorem taxes down the road." I know the figure, but I'm not going to release it. Would you care to share that?
I think it was $4 million.
Do you have a microphone on? Sorry, I'm going to be a stickler about it. I'm going to call you out. Just talk into it.
Okay.
Yeah, just hold it. You don't have to.
It was $4 million. So, if you look at the effect on the schools in Texas County, I think they get 83% of the ad valorem taxes go to the schools. So what it affected the schools was about $320 million, or no, not $3.2 million dollars. But it was $4 million was what that project would have brought to Texas County that decided to build in Texas. There's still hope. I mean, they've paid the Southwest Power Pool $500,000 to sell electricity into it. That is tied to the project in Oklahoma, so there's hope that maybe we can find another company come in and build on that site. But that's what just that company deciding to build in Texas instead of Oklahoma is what that costs this county. I don't know what it is.
You can't talk without being
I'm sorry. I just said, can you share the name of the company?
I can find that out for you. I do not know what company it was. I can say there's a bill to take away the tax credit, that and the I'm going blank. What's that wasn't it? I'm sorry. It's somebody told me one time. It's when your brain only can hold so much information, and as information comes in, some has to move out. But D-wind out here, this bill would threaten D-wind, and it's just basically taking away a tax or adding a tax to wind, and it would affect D-wind. D-wind would probably just shut down.
Casey, I'd like to thank you. Visiting with you Wednesday up there at breakfast, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate you, Bryce, on recognizing the cost that's going to happen to counties if we hit that. If we cap those revenues right now, like you said 22 years, 29 years, our revenue hasn't changed. Counties maintain 75% of our transportation system. That's the biggest part of it. And with $50 million being lost last year, off the top, you know how that worked, we weren't able to upgrade or improve much of anything. To maintain what we've got with the money we have, it's tough now. If that's capped, we're looking at going backwards, as you said. And I want to tell you, I appreciate you recognizing that fact, and I appreciate you having some of those numbers. I've got a lot more information here, what we spend, what we do, and how tight our budget is. A lot of people don't realize those are our four main revenue streams. County highways do not get any ad valorem. That's restricted to the courthouse and our jails. So to cap those, and with gross production being down like it is, it will devastate our counties. Again, thank you for recognizing that, and I hope you take that back to your other senators and really help us out here.
We'll both be watching that and championing it. You know, one of the good things about the Senate and the House is pretty close the same way. You know, we do redistricting every 10 years, so it's fortunately I was named on the Senate as co-chair of redistricting, and we were able to draw district lines, and we worked tirelessly to try to get it this way, or I did, on making sure that we maintained a strong rural representation. And it was for things like this. It's going to be even harder on the next cycle, but having guys serving who represent rural areas is important. And I think we'll be able to head this off, but we're going to probably start meeting as the rural caucus in the next week, and some of these things like that will be brought up because a lot of those guys aren't aware of them yet.
One thing I'd like to add, and this is just patting you on the back and letting you know, last year, and you're well aware, you know, we swiped your revolving fund, the SERB fund for $50 million. We capped it at $120. By capping your maintenance, that I realize that's going to be a devastating blow. And what people don't realize, and what Bryce and I will probably try to sell down there, is by the SERB money built new roads and bridges. It's like a new pickup. You have a new pickup, you don't have a lot of maintenance on it. But where they cut the funding to the counties to build new roads and bridges, so they're having to just maintain the old ones, which is falling apart on a daily basis. And now to go in there and cut their maintenance fund, they're just cutting the county's throats, is what it is. So, you know, just Ted, let you know that I understand, and I understand the pickle that you're in, and that may be one I stand on my desk and scream and holler about too.
We do appreciate you coming out. Thank you very much. And I hope that you won't try and close the gap in the budget by chasing after a pipe dream like the revenue coming from a casino. I would like those that are part of the Panhandle Citizens for Truth in Gaming to stand up, and I want you to see the number that are represented here that are opposed to that casino, and that it's not going to be good for our local community or the state. So thank you very much.
Oh, well, we really do appreciate you guys coming out, and I know that you deal with everything from nesting birds to roads to to our government's budget. But we do just strongly urge you, and I apologize. You have about a ream and a half of paper apiece, you gentlemen do, of signed petitions, as well as letters from all of our city councils, our commissioners, police chiefs, sheriffs, individual businesses and everything. And that's probably not all of it, but it's the best we could get together in the time limit, opposing this, like it was said, a pipe dream that a casino is going to help us out here. We don't need it. We're an ag community. We want to keep the land in ag activity, and we're not interested in having the things that come along with a casino. If people want to go to a casino, that's great. I know several of them. There's 120 plus in Oklahoma. We don't need another one. And you can see how well they're doing our state. But if we want to have one here, that's a completely different story, because it is not an economic asset. It is not. It does not produce a service. It does not produce a product. It does not put new injection of money into our community. It's going to close down a lot of the restaurants and the gas stations and everything else because they're tax exempt. So we strongly urge you to become involved in that situation. And as Marlette just said, we want to have strong rural representation, and that's what we're asking for.
Do we have any other questions? Oh, we have one way in the back. You have to come this way.
I know that in the governor's State of the Union, she talked about health care and asking for an additional 3% reduction in Medicaid. That's in addition to the 3% she took last year. We get federal match money with that, and so if you reduce it by 3%, that's actually more like a 6% because it's a 2-for-1 type match, and so it really affects rural hospitals even more. To update your numbers, you said 55 hospitals have closed in the last 10 years. We're up to 66, and there was one that closed this week in Oklahoma. And I hope that shook up the state a little bit. Sayre. They closed their doors February 1. So please see what you can do to help us out on that and save rural hospitals. I think that's a great bill that would be a big help to all of us. So just wanted to put that plug in. Thank you.
February 11th out at the Ag Building, we'll be having an informational for those that are concerned about the sales tax issue to support the local hospital. I would encourage you all to come out there, and that way you can become informed and not be ignorant of the issues that are facing rural health care. So please, February 11th.
Can I ask what the sales tax is in Guyman? 9.5. Is this extending one or new? It would be 10.5.
When the governor gave her speech, she talked about the loopholes that the different companies were getting tax breaks, and you here talked about the same thing. And is it just talk, or are we going to be hard-nosed enough to do it?
Well, I'll tell you this. In our meetings leading up into session, everybody's ready to go, and I closed our last meeting before the session and said, well, it's great to know that everybody's on board to have some true reforms. We'll see how much you mean it whenever you're starting to get phone calls and constituents up here telling you, yeah, you can cut everybody else as long as you leave me alone. Because I think it's going to be difficult as far as the reforms. I think there is. I think there is. We do have the stomach to do it. Now, I don't think we're not going to change. We're not going to eat the apple at once. It's going to be small bites. But yeah, I think that there's going to be some true reforms put in place this year. Keep in mind though, some of the reforms that some people are talking about are also what I call gimmicks. They're accounting gimmicks that make it look like that just change things on the books to make it look a certain way that that really don't make a lot of changes. If we're going to do it, we need to. I mean, I don't want to go through this pain without having something to show for it at the end of the day. Because it's going to be unpleasant however you look at it. There's going to be a lot of people mad at me and Casey and everybody else up there because they're not going to like about the stuff we've got to vote on. But you know what? You sent us there to do a job, so we were going to have to do it this time.
I've got my belt on the smallest hole, but I'm going to go home and get my leather punch.
Okay, I think that these three gentlemen will probably stick around for a few minutes if you'd like to discuss anything with them. I know that they have some things to attend as well today. I think that they've scheduled some appearances. So if you have anything that they can't address, you have to leave before. Be sure and write your note with your name, address, or excuse me, your name, phone number, and email address, and we'll get him to him. And I'd also really like to thank Apollo MedFlight. Not only did they sponsor today's session of Eggs and Issues, but they're a great community partner, and they're a great member of our chamber. So anyway, they're here to talk to you about anything that they can help with as well. So without further ado, I'll see you March the 4th.